Hello, everybody,
Hello, everyone.
and welcome back to another episode of Steven Shows Myah Movies,
Yeah.
the podcast title that explains itself.
Yeah, we forgot to say that last time.
And we're back. We're back.
We're back and we
We're
watched
back.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, we watched Good Will Hunting.
A
And
movie that I think I saw before, but never remembered.
yeah, so I've never seen it, and it was really freaking good.
Yes.
I really like Robin Williams is freaking amazing. Fun fact, I share a birthday with Robin Williams, so
Good job.
I feel connected to him. Yeah, so this movie was really good. I almost like teared up. I was tearing up at the one scene.
The one scene?
The iconic scene that everybody knows. If they've seen this movie.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The therapy scene.
There are multiple.
The final therapy scene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The one where...
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, so basically, this movie starts out... Actually, how does this movie start out?
It starts off with a bunch of credits, and we see Matt Damon as Will Hunting, and he's looking up books, he's reading all about it, and we see that he's a janitor at M.I.T.
He does janitorial work there.
Yes.
And basically we see this like math class, I think, and there's a professor there. I forget his name.
Yeah, Professor that guy.
Yeah, the professor. We'll just call him the professor. He like is teaching a class, and then he's like, at the end of the class, he's like, yeah, I put an equation or something and try and prove it.
Yeah.
If you can. It's just like, and he's like, if you do, then you'll be in my good graces. Like, it's really impressive. You'll be put in the paper because it's like,
yeah, and they have all
yet.
semester to get it done.
Yeah. So he puts it up. Everyone goes, and then it kind of, I think the scene cuts to Matt Damon like cleaning, and then he sees the board, and then he's like, oh, I think I could probably solve that. And then I think he goes home and goes out for drinks.
Yeah, he goes out for drinks with his friends.
There's 3 friends.
Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, and the other guy.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
But they just get to the bar, and then Matt Damon goes, I gotta go. And Ben Affleck's
yeah.
What are you doing? You just got here.
That was
Where
such
are
a
you going?"
weird scene. They literally shows them walking into the bar. They get drinks. They sit down. Matt Damon sips his drink, and then he's like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Why'd you even come? You didn't even finish your drink. Like, what are you doing? And then
He goes to his house, and he's in the bathroom, and he's writing on the mirror because he's trying to figure out the equation and the proof. And then the following scene, I think it's completed on the chalkboard, or someone mentions it to the professor, and he goes out and...
Oh yeah, the next scene, there's a reunion for MIT.
Oh, right.
And then they go, and then the professor's there, and this girl's like, hey, professor.
Oh, yeah.
It was really weird, because it kind of implies that the professor's kind of scummy.
He's a little sleazy.
He's willing to sleep with the students, kind of. Because, the girl goes up to him, and she's like, oh, someone... I don't even know what she says, but basically, she's like, someone solved the proof. And then he's like, oh. And then they go, and they see it, and he's like, who did this?
And there's a group of people around him. He points at each student. He's like, did you do this? And they're like, no. Like, you crazy? No.
Yeah. And everyone was like, nope, I didn't do it. And then he's like, interesting. Okay. So then it cuts to him teaching another class, and it's completely packed. And he's like, okay, I put a new equation on the board. It took me and my team 2 years to prove it. Mm-hmm. If you hopefully this mystery person will prove it. And what's interesting is he tries to get the person who did it to reveal themselves in the classroom. Obviously, Matt Damon's character, Will Hunting, is not in the classroom, but I'm surprised that no one claimed his work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they would have to prove that they would, that they know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess that would dissuade them. But so he's like, okay, I guess I don't know who it is. And then I guess they stay after hours or something, and then Will Hunting is cleaning, and then it shows him solving the equation, and then the guy is like, hey, you, and then Will Hunting is like, fuck you, and then he leaves, and the professor tries to chase him, and then they go back to the board, and it's solved. Mm-hmm. And the professor's like, I need to know who that was. He's this genius kid. And then I think it cuts to a scene with Will Hunting at a bar again with his friends.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck's trying to rizz up some girls at the bar. Oh, they go to a Harvard bar.
Mm-hmm. And Ben Affleck's like, I thought there would be a bunch of numbers and equations here.
Yeah. And then, so he tries to rizz up these ladies. And then this other guy comes in who's like a graduate student there, and he's like,
yeah, snooty Harvard guy.
And like, you don't go to Harvard, rah, rah, rah. And then Matt Damon jumps in, and he's like, actually, you are just quoting, like, old shit from, like, old philosophers. You have no creativity of your own or no original ideas. Mm-hmm. And the guy gets embarrassed and he leaves. Mm-hmm. And then he ends up, later on, one of the girls approaches him and ends up giving him her number because she was impressed with him, I guess, because he's smart. And then and then he's like, oh. And then it's just funny because I guess he goes to, like, a restaurant where he sees, like, the same grad student from earlier in the window. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, do you like apples? And the grad student's like, yeah, I guess. And then he's like, well, I got her number. How do you like them apples? And then he, like, walks away. Everything's with a Boston accent, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Pac.
Yeah, exactly.
Boston.
Yeah. And then...
The professor goes to, like, the mechanic shop where Will Hunting is working, but he didn't come in that day, so the professor doesn't know who he is, but he knows his name now. Mm. So he looks into it, and he's like, there's a student who works here, and he's like, there's no student who works here, and then they're like, whoa, what? There's no student? That's crazy. And
then they're like, well, can you tell me, like, the worker? And then they're like...
Like, give him, like, the ID
like, here,
badge.
This is the parole officer of the guy. You can get in contact with him.
Because they were at a... Matt Damon and his buddies were at like a little league game, and they saw this guy that picked on Matt Damon while he was in kindergarten, and then they saw him walking down the street, and they started to beat him up, and now that he was like arrested.
Oh, so yeah, he was arrested because he punched like a police officer.
That too.
So then the next scene is the professor going to the trial where where Will Hunting is. And then he sees, like, Will Hunting, like, representing himself, and he's, like, impressed that the kid's so smart, but the judge ends up finding him guilty and said he has to pay $50,000 or he faces jail time. So then it's funny because he's in jail and he's calling the girl. He's like, oh, hey, I'd like to take you out sometime. Yeah. Any chance you're pre-law? And then it ends up that the professor ends up bailing him out of jail. Or I don't know if bailing, but he said that he made an arrangement with the judge.
Yeah, some way to get him out of jail time.
That Will has to meet with him.
And a therapist.
And a therapist twice a week.
Yeah.
In order to, like, stay out of jail. Mm-hmm. And, like, at first Matt Damon's like, no, I don't want to see a therapist. But then he has no choice, so I guess.
Because otherwise he'd be in jail.
Yeah. So then the next few scenes are, like, him...
A montage of him going to different therapists.
Yeah, and, like, messing around with them. Like, the first one, he's like, yeah... do you find it hard to hide the fact you're gay? And then that really got that guy mad. Mm-hmm. And then the next one...
He, like, read each of their books and figured out how to get under their skin, so he didn't have to do...
Yeah, he was trying to, like, anger them so they wouldn't want him as a patient, because he doesn't want to go to therapy. And then the next guy was some sort of hypnotist, and he was, like, faking that he was hypnotized, and, like...
then he started singing.
Yeah, he kind of embarrassed him. And then apparently he went through 3 other ones that was shown off camera, and then... The professor's like, I know one guy that I think will get Matt Damon in shape. Mm-hmm. And it's Robin Williams' character, which I forget his name in the actual movie. Sean. And then Sean and the professor went to, like, school together.
Yeah, they went to college. They were dorm roommates.
Yeah, and then their relationship's kind of weird. I don't really understand, like, what's going on there. Like...
Oh, we'll get into it as we continue with the... story.
Yeah, but I still don't understand, like, what the nature of their relationship was.
They're just, like, they're buds. But one's...
They don't seem like buds.
Well, it's like a tension-based system where one is, like, at M.I.T. teaching math, and the other is at a community college teaching philosophy.
Yeah, but they don't even seem like friends, period.
Well,
Like, anyway. So then he's like, I know a guy. And then he's like, okay, this is going to be the one. And then he has Matt Damon go in to see Robin Williams, and Robin Williams is, like, trying to, like, get through to him, and then Matt Damon figures out a way to get under his skin, and he basically, like, says something about his wife, and then Robin Williams literally grabs him by the throat and, like, if you ever say anything about my wife again, I will fuck you up. And then, I guess, I don't know, I guess Matt Damon thought he, like, threw the guy off his trail, or, like, he got out of it, but he ended up seeing him next week.
Yeah.
And then... Robin Williams, like, brings him to, like, a pond.
Yeah, he took him out of the scenario where Matt Damon thinks that all therapists are, like in a room with a bunch of books.
Uh-huh.
So he was like, all right, let's take this kid out of the comfort zone of this office.
Right.
And bring him to this pond outside.
Yeah. So he's talking and he's like, yeah, like you upset me, but then I realized you're just a kid and you've never been outside of Boston, you don't have any experience, like you don't know
the grander scheme of the universe. Yeah, like essentially.
You can talk about art and stuff, but you've never actually seen
the
like
Sistine
Michelangelo's
Chapel,
like you've never seen any of it, or like you might have had sex or you might have kissed someone, but you don't know what it feels like to like love someone or like have a soulmate or whatever, stuff like that. And then I guess that really got Matt Damon thinking. And then the next few sessions, though, he doesn't speak at all during the sessions. And Robin Williams is like, yeah, I can't be the first one to speak. Like, it has to be him. Otherwise, like, this is all for nothing, kind of. And then the professor, all while this is happening, like, he's, like, solving these mathematical equations very easily. Yep. The professor is, like, giving him to do, and he's, like, impressing everybody. And then eventually he ends up speaking. I guess it becomes too much for him to
Well, he notices that Sean, Robin Williams' character, begins to nod off in sleep, so he tries to, like, catch him by then starting to speak.
Oh. Yeah, so he ends up telling him a joke about, like, an airplane joke.
Right, yeah.
And then Robin Williams is like, you ever been on an airplane? He's like, no, it's just funnier if I tell a joke in the first person. And then I guess that somehow starts the conversation. Yeah.
Is that when they talk about Robin Williams' wife in the game?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. They talk about, like, Robin Williams kind of reveals stuff about him. And then I think that what makes Matt Damon open up more.
Slightly.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And then also he ends up going on a few dates with the Skylar girl. Or he goes on a date with her. Or 2 dates with her. One of them was, like, in that joke shop, and then the other one was, like, getting burgers. I don't know if it was the same date.
I think that was the same
So they go on one date together, but then Matt Damon doesn't call for a while. Or, like, he calls, but then he's scared, so he hangs up.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then he has a session with Robin Williams. Robin Williams is like, well, like, if you don't, like, go for it, you're never going to know. Like, you can't, you know. So then he ends up going to Harvard and finding her, and then he's like,
hey, in her dorm room.
He finds her dorm room and he's like, hey, like, let's go out. But she's like, I can't go out now. I have, like, homework to do. And then he ends up doing her homework for her. And then he's like, hey, here's the answer. Come on, let's go.
I couldn't wait.
Yeah, he's like, I couldn't wait. So then they end up going to, like, they go to, like, a greyhound race.
Right. Yeah.
And then her dog wins. And then she's excited. She's asking about him.
But he can't deal with that. So he starts lying.
Yeah.
Because we already know that he's an orphan.
Yeah, she tries, like, getting to know him, and she's like, oh, like, what about your brothers, or, like, any family, and he's like, oh, I have 12 brothers, which he doesn't, and then she tries, trying to catch him in the lie, but he has, like, a photographic memory, so he remembers everything, so he's, like, he ends up getting away with it, but she kind of wants to meet his friends, and wants to meet his family, because she likes him, so, and he likes her, but he's scared, because he has a fear of abandonment.
I think we then go to, like, the little pub in the day where the professor meets up with Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
And they talk about what the professor wants for Will, not what Will wants, which is what Robin Williams is trying to convince the professor of.
Yeah, so the professor wants Robin Williams to, like, get employed by, like, these companies because they want him and they inquired about him. And Robin Williams is like, well, no, like, if we push him now, like, he's gonna, like, hide, run away. Like, we have to find out what he wants to do. Like, not everything is about you, and, like, he has all this potential, but, like, what if that's not what he wants to do? You know? So then Robin Williams is kind of advocating for him, but the professor's like, no, like, he has all this untapped potential. Like, we have to do it. We have to push him. I don't know what happens after this. I don't know if Robin Williams, like, gives, like, he has homework for the professor, and Right.
Yeah.
Will, like, solves the equation, gives it to the professor looks it over,
and then, did you ever think about, and Will is just like, it's right, alright, just calm down, it's right, you look it over, I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, what about the job? And he's like, oh, I sent my liaison in for me, because the professor set up a job interview. and he ended up sending Ben Affleck in. And Ben Affleck, it was pretty funny. He was like, he was trying to get like the people, like the recruiters or whatever, the hirers, to give him money, and he ends up getting $73 from them and like leaves. And he has this like whole speech, and it literally makes no sense, and they're confused by the end of it.
If you say something confidently, they won't question you.
Yeah. So, oh no, before this, we missed a big part. Before this, it's like things are getting serious with a girl.
Right.
Her name's Skylar, and she wants to meet his friends, and she's like, I'm not gonna have sex with you unless you let me meet your friends. So like he lets her meet his friends. They get along. They're having fun. They're laughing. And then Skylar's like, I'm going to Stanford because I'm going to med school there. Like, I think you should come with me. I love you. I want to make this work. And then that really freaks out Will, because he's scared that like he'll be abandoned in California if it doesn't work out with this girl. Like he'll be stuck there and he won't know anyone. So he's like, no, like I can't leave. I gotta stay here. And she's like, well, what are you so scared of? Like, I'm scared too, but I want to make this, like, I want to try. I want to make this work. And then he's like, no, I can't do this. Like, you don't know about me. Like, I don't have 12 brothers. I'm an orphan. I was abused, blah, blah, blah. But you don't want to know that. You just, like, you're rich. You're going to marry someone rich. Like, you don't want me. I'm trash. And then she's like, no, you don't, like, no, like, you're just not dealing with your issues. Like, I do want you. And then she gives him an ultimatum. She's like, tell me you don't love me and then I won't call you and I'll leave and I won't be in your life anymore. And then he's like, I don't love you. And then he leaves. Da, da, da. But obviously, he probably loves her. But, so he leaves, they break up, and then he kind of acts out. So that's when he, like, he gives the professor his solution. The professor looks it over, and he's, like, giving attitude. And then he ends up burning the solution, and the professor, like, runs to put it out. And he's like, you know, Will, like, I wish I never met you because you're so smart, and I wish I didn't know that you existed because then I could go to sleep at night. And then Will, like, is like, fuck you, and then he leaves. And then the professor's like, yeah, because, like, I wish I never knew because you're throwing away your potential, kind of. Yep. And then there's, like, a therapy session with Robin Williams where, like, Robin Williams is like, what do you want? And then Will, like, can't answer the question. He keeps deflecting. And then Robin Williams gets mad and he's like, you need to leave or something like that. Yeah, because he wasn't getting anywhere anymore. Yeah. So then it just stopped. Yeah, he's like, okay, well, we're not making any progress, so you can go. You're wasting my time. And then Will goes, and then he hangs out with his friends, and he's drinking, and he's like, yeah, like, I don't want to leave anyway. Oh, right, because Will and Ben Affleck's character, they're working, and they're at the truck. Yeah. And they're, like, doing construction, and then Will's like, yeah, like, I don't even, like, because he asked about the girl, and he's like, oh, she moved to California. And then he's like, yeah, like, I don't want to do this job. Like, I don't want to work at these companies. I just want to... He doesn't want to be a lab rat just doing equations all day. Yeah, he's fine with doing the manual labor and the honorary job of making a house that someone can live or fixing a car so someone can get to work. Yeah, and then Robin Williams was like, well, you're not doing it for the honor. You're just doing it because... I don't really know what he said, to be honest. He just said, yeah, but you don't work because of the honor of it. You're just working to get by or something. I don't even know. He's not doing it because he wants to. He's just doing it to do it rather than using what he can do for betterment. Something like that. And then he ends up having this conversation with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is like, no, like, you're really wasting your, like, life if you don't do this. Like, you think that any of these guys would jump for the opportunity that you have, but you're going to blow it because you're scared to take the leap. And he's like, yeah, like, I think about it, the best 10 seconds of my day are when I'm walking to your house and I knock on your door and I'm waiting for you to not answer because you left. Without a word, without saying anything, he's just gone. Yeah. That's what Ben Affleck's character is waiting for. Yeah. And then I guess that gets Matt Damon thinking, and then he goes back to Robin Williams and he encounters Robin Williams and the professor, like, in an argument because the professor's like, he's wasting his talent, like, he has all this potential, and Robin Williams is like, I'm not gonna let you destroy him, like we're at a critical time here, he's gonna come back, he's gonna, because, like, if he doesn't show up to the professor meetings or, like, his counseling meetings, he goes back to jail. So the professor's like, I don't know what to do, like, I can't vouch, like, if he doesn't come, like, I can't lie, like, it's not my conscience, I can't do that. And so he goes to Robin Williams and they're discussing it, and he's like, no, like, it's not like this is like a breakthrough moment. Like he's gonna come back.
Yep.
You just have to give him time. I'm not gonna let you ruin this by pushing him. And then.
And outside the window, you see a reflection of Will Hunting.
Yeah, and he's right there, and he's like, "Oh, is this a bad time?" And then the professor leaves. And then he talks with Robin Williams, and I don't really know what happens, but he like gives Robin Williams a file or something. I don't know, like it's a file about abuse, like a person that was abused.
About him.
It was his file.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Robin Williams is reading it, and then like Will has like an insight, and he's like, "Oh, do you have experience with this, like domestic violence?" Mm-hmm. And then Robin was like, yeah, and he's like, personal experience with it. And then Robin was like, yeah, my dad was an alcoholic. He used to like punch me. And then Matt Damon kind of opened up. He was like, yeah, like my dad or foster parent or whatever, I don't remember which one it was, like had me choose between a belt or like a branch. And he's like,
a wrench.
Oh, a wrench. And he's like, I picked the wrench.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Robin Williams says, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. So
So that
Will Hunting actually gives in and realizes that, it's okay to show emotion and feel things.
Yeah. And then at first, like, he's like, it's not your fault. And then Matt Damon's like, yeah, I know. And he keeps saying it. And then Matt Damon's like, yeah, I know. And then he starts, like, tearing up. And he's like, stop fucking with me. And then he's like, he ends up crying. And then they have a hug. And then it's a really emotional scene. Mm-hmm. And then somehow that cures him, I guess.
Well, it's his friend, it's Robin Williams, it's listening to the conversation between the two of them, because Will Hunting realizes that he and Robin Williams are very similar.
Yeah.
Especially after him looking over the file.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need to do what's best for me, and what's best for me is to leave my friends and go off and take the new car that they got for me, specifically, and head to California.
To chase that, just go see about a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically after that conversation, he kind of like, he ends up getting the job, and then he talks to Robin Williams, and he's like, yeah, I got the job, and Robin Williams is like, oh, is that what you want? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And Robin's like, I'm good for you. And then they like shake hands, and he's like, is this the end? And Robin Williams is like, yeah. And he's like, well, I hope we can keep in touch. And Robin Williams gives him his number, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be off traveling, but this is the answering machine that I'll be like taking messages on. And then Matt Damon's like, oh, traveling? And he's like, yeah, like I decided to... The whole thing about Robin Williams is his wife died, and he doesn't want to look for a new person because that was his soulmate, and he doesn't want to like see what's out there. He's content living in this. And then, so he helps Matt Damon, and then he helps Will, and then Will kind of helps him see that like he can still get back out there type of thing. So it was mutually beneficial. So he ends up packing to travel the world, specifically China, India, and Baltimore. And then Matt Damon kind of goes off, and he has this job, and then his friends give him a beat-up car.
For his 21st
birthday, but he's been drinking in bars this whole time, so he wasn't 21.
Yeah.
But I guess he's a tough kid, so, like, they let him in. But, yeah, so then he ends up, like, the final scene is kind of him, like, instead of going to the job, he ends up driving across the country to California to, like, go find Skylar. And then he leaves a note for Robin Williams. It's like, oh, it's like if the professor asks about the job, tell him I had to go see about a girl. And then Robin was like, hey, he stole my line. And then then the movie's over.
Yeah.
But it was really good. It was a good movie. I was entertained the whole time. It was engaging. What are your thoughts?
It was very well written, very well acted, and very well shot.
It was good.
Overall, it's a really good movie.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm surprised I like haven't seen it before. But anyway, let's get into some reviews of this movie.
Reviews times for reviews.
Yeah. Let's go see about this.
Let's go see about the reviews.
Okay, so this was rated a 4.3 on Letterboxd, which is really high for Letterboxd. And then the first review that comes up is funny. It says, I will never be able to wrap my head around the fact that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote this screenplay. They literally look like they have one brain cell between the two of them. And then someone said, Robin Williams guiding white boys is my new favorite cinematic universe. I think they're referring to the Dead Poet Society, which is also a Robin Williams movie, where he's like a mentor figure type of thing.
Yeah.
Someone said, my boy's wicked smart.
This is very Boston. Extremely Boston. Sorry, Boston. Wicked smart. And there's a lot of F words, too. My goodness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's just a lot of cursing in this movie. Someone said Matt Damon.
That's dumb. Why didn't I think of that?
Someone said Robin Williams is a warm hug in human form, and I miss him every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Robin Williams literally only has to say, my wife, and I'll instantly start ugly crying. This one I thought was funny. Someone said, imagine how insufferable Will Hunting would have been if he'd been played by Jesse Eisenberg. And I think that's so true.
Just a Social Network.
Will and Skylar have sex between... What?
What?
Will and Skylar have sex between the bars by Elliott Smith. I have never shouted goals quicker in my life. What the hell? Oh, that must be the song.
Oh, that wasn't a sentence.
I was really confused by that. There is literally nothing more I hate about this movie than the fact that I can never see it again for the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. The good thing this was my first time seeing it. Woo!
Technically me too. That was cool.
Oh, this is funny. Robin Williams calls the professor, you mathematical dick.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's so funny. Some said, I'd give almost anything to be able to sit down with a therapist like Robin Williams for the rest of my life. What's up with bearded men and monologues to skinny white boys that gets me so emotional? Someone said, every time Robin said, it's not your fault, I cried a little harder. That was a pretty emotional scene.
Mm-hmm.
For a film with such an exceptional screenplay, it really does have a terrible title.
Good Will Hunting?
I don't know. I don't think it's bad.
No. Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. Should I keep saying it? Like it's not your fault?
Sure.
Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. Good Will Hunting. Okay, your turn.
I'm actually going to say review instead. This is what movies are supposed to look like and sound like and feel like. They're supposed to make you think and cry at random things and feel like you want to get out there and do something. God, this movie is so beautiful and perfect. It's pretty true.
It's pretty good.
Someone said, real sad, but real good. Me when my Will Hunting behaves.
I don't like that sentence.
I don't really like that either. This is a weird review. It says, you know those movies that you love the dialogues even more than the story because the story is too obvious to be engaged with? So you just lay back and simply feel the film? Yeah.
They were high.
I think you're right. I don't really understand that review. Someone said, who needs therapy when you could just watch Good Will Hunting instead?
True. But also, isn't that just therapy?
True. Me, frowny face. Good Will Hunting exists. Me, smiley face. Someone said, one word from Robin Williams again and my ass is on the floor crying. Someone said, I will personally PayPal money to anyone who rates this film under 5 stars so they can get their eyes checked up at the nearest optometrist.
What did you rate it?
I rated it 5 stars.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you don't need to get your eyes checked out.
It was good. Someone said, second viewing of this, and it's pretty obvious to me now how completely perfect this thing really is. And arguably one of the best written screenplays to ever hit the silver screen and features 2 of my favorite performances of all time in Damon's smartass yet lovable Will and Williams' warm-hearted Sean. The park bench scene remains one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
That one's a pretty good one.
That is a good scene.
I like that one a lot.
Someone said, me, terrible at math, living vicariously through a fictional janitor, awesome at math. Okay, this will be my last review. Someone said, the only way I can explain this is that it's like a cinematic geode. Whilst this film could have been very mediocre and forgettable based on the premise, it's packed with little pieces of magic that reach into your soul and make it feel just a little bit brighter. I could watch this so many times, and I'm sad this was my first time watching, because I know this could have helped me get through many situations. It's that kind of film. Also, every time someone told Casey Affleck to shut up, my brain expanded, and I grew at least 1% stronger, which is always a bonus. Okay, that's the end of the reviews.
End of the reviews. Time for trivia. Fun facts time. Time for fun facts. It's always different. After Robin Williams died, the park bench in Boston, that Matt Damon and them shared their conversation, has become an impromptu memorial site. People leave flowers, quotes, and various items at the bench. That's cool.
That is cool.
On the first day of shooting, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck started crying out of happiness because it was scene between Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård, when they're doing Ben Affleck's and Matt Damon's scene verbatim, and they've waited 5 years for it to happen. Wow, that's cool. Casey Affleck ad-libbed most of his lines, and they all admitted later on that his lines were much funnier than what was actually written.
Is that the professor?
No, that was the Ben Affleck's brother.
Oh.
The lines in the scene when Sean talks about his late wife's farting antics were ad-libbed by Robin Williams. That is why Matt Damon was laughing so hard. If you watch the scene carefully, you can notice the camera shaking a bit, possibly due to the cameraman laughing as well. That's fun. I like that. When Matt Damon was in his 5th year at Harvard, he was in a playwriting class. The culmination of it was to write a one-act play. He started writing a movie, which was with the help of Ben Affleck, and became this movie. Yeah, that's actually really cool, because he was in a playwriting class. He was supposed to just write an act 1 of a play, but he just kept writing. He was like, to his professor, I think I just wrote the act 1 of a movie. And his professor went, you did. Keep going. This is going to be really cool. So keep doing it. So they kept writing it, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. But it changed completely as they started writing and getting more into it. And I believe they even said, because I watched a lot about this movie, because I'm doing pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. But they told the actors to just say what feels right rather than what is on the script, because they weren't really sure what they were exactly writing. And also one scene, I forget which therapy session they were talking about, but they were talking about one of them, and they just kind of started writing it, and they were saying, well, if we'll go see this therapist, then the therapist has to say something. What is he going to say? And that's what they had, and that's what they said in one of their interviews. And it's just like, well, yeah, of course he needs to say something. And that's something that they just sort of like, we need to have him say something. Like, they weren't experienced writers, and they wrote this, and they just were like, I need to write something that the therapist will say to Will. Like, how do you think about that? How do you just, what? How do you write and go, this guy needs to say something? Anyway. Also, the last line of the film was Robin Williams saying, he stole my line. He wasn't supposed to say anything in that scene, but they took 80 takes of him just coming out and doing what Robin Williams does best, and that's just say whatever comes to mind. Mm-hmm. And one of the last takes was him saying, he stole my line. And Matt Damon, during one of the interviews on YouTube, he was held the cinematographer, was like, we got it, that's it, that's the one we're using. It's just really cool. Because they're just kids, they're college students who are writing this screenplay. Mm-hmm. And then they end up getting all these great actors, Skarsgård, Robin Williams, and all these great people, and they're acting in it themselves, and it's pretty much they're using their own Boston accent. It's just really cool.
Okay, nerd.
Sorry. I'm pretty much doing what they're doing, but, slightly lesser, so...
Maybe not. Maybe it will be better.
Maybe. Well, I do have to write a 20-page screenplay for screenwriting. So, But I can't do what Matt Damon did and write a whole movie, because my professor will be mad, because he wants it to be concise and exact. So, but eventually it could be something that's pretty cool.
You really like this movie.
I do. I think it's one of my favorites. No. I have 2 lists: favorite movies and best movies. Favorites. This one has become a best.
So it's on both lists, or it graduated from one list to another?
I don't think it was on the top 10 list of the favorites probably, but now it's moved to the best, and that's reserved for the best of the best, or what I think is the best.
Yeah, this is definitely a really good film. I would recommend watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes by really fast, too. It
does. It's a quick watch, even though it is 2 hours.
It's very easy. Yeah. They're very entertaining characters.
Mm-hmm. You're never bored.
Robin Williams, I think, doesn't Robin Williams, he always improvs lines, doesn't he? In almost all of his movies.
Mm-hmm. He can't help it.
They're always better.
That's what he does.
It always makes the movie better than what it was originally.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
And especially with this, because Matt Damon and Ben Affleck weren't really sure what to write.
Yeah, they're probably I don't know what to say. Robin Williams, just come up with whatever you want. Damn. Well, rest in peace, Robin Williams. Yes. And, yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, whenever that will be.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.